This is the PR Podcast, a show about how public relations helps you tell your story to the world. We talk with great PR practitioners who have the skills, creativity, and just plain savvy to get their clients noticed. Now here's your host, Jody Fisher.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the PR Podcast. I'm Jody Fisher. Thanks for joining us. Well, it's another busy day here in the PR garage. You can probably hear lots of banging and grinding and engines behind me. That's because we have a lot of contracting work going on here. But hopefully things will be nice and crisp and clear in the final mix. We are joined with a very special guest today. We have someone who's really special to us here at the PR Podcast. So we'll dispense with the usual upfront mumbo jumbo for me and get right into it. Steve Cody is CEO at Peppercomm, a fully integrated strategic communications firm headquartered in New York City with offices located in San Francisco and London. As CEO, he does it all, from implementing strategy and counseling clients to leading business development and bringing new products and services to market. He's the current chairman for the Institute for Public Relations. He's a longtime member of the Arthur W. Page Society, a member of the advisory councils of the College of Charleston and the University of Florida, and was named one of Northeastern University's 100 most successful alumni. That is a group I will never be in, no matter where it's the list is made. He's also the co-author of a book, What's Keeping Your Customers Up at Night? We want to talk about that. And he's the host of the Laughing Matters podcast, where he and I cross paths. And I was recently a guest there, and I'm grateful for that. And that podcast features people from all walks of life who share one belief: that laughing matters. Steve, welcome to the PR Podcast.
Well, thank you very much, Jody. That intro was mind-numbing. And I would just advise your listeners not to believe a word of it.
Well, I got to tell you, Steve, anyone who's in PR, especially in the New York City area, they know who Peppercomm is. They know you guys. Your reputation precedes you, an excellent agency. Tell us a little bit about your day job there and what you do.
Sure, I clean windows, make sure that the restrooms are up to standards. First and foremost, I always refer to Peppercomm as my third child. So in the same way you were talking about taking, I think, your daughter to a baseball game, the care and nurturing of Peppercomm is always what A, it keeps me up at night, and B, it's what I focus on. So that, as you know, will vary from day to day, week to week, month to month. It could be focusing more on biz dev and thought leadership, could be focusing more on deepening client relationships. Certainly, in the past 2 years, employee wellness, as a holistic term, has taken, the bulk of what little mental acuity I have. So people first, Peppercomm is 1A, 1B, and 1C. And when I say Peppercomm, I mean from a holistic sense. That includes the financials, the administrative, the operations, et cetera.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned, the difference between, let's call it pre-pandemic, and the last 2 years of sort of operating in that environment. What new challenges have come across the desk of the CEO of a public relations company in the last 2 months? You mentioned employee wellness, which I was glad to hear. What about from the client side, maybe? What are the clients thinking about?
Well, the clients, too, are very, very they're people focused to an extreme. And by that, I mean, as you know, whether it's called the Great Resignation or the Great Escape or whatever, there's a talent war, the likes of which I haven't seen since the .com days. So, knock on wood, I'm sure I'll have 15 resignations after we finish this podcast, but we haven't lost anyone, which is remarkable, because I know our people are being called right and left. And I've spoken to any number of other leaders who have watched people walk out the door for 2 or 3 times the salary at other agencies. So talent is first and foremost a big deal, and really staying ahead of the curve in terms of anticipating emotional, mental, and physical health and well-being of our employee base. You're only going to attract and retain great clients if you can attract and retain great people. So the people focus has been laser-like, really since March of 2020. But certainly now that it seems that this is just the way it's going to be. There are some signs that things are starting to lift a little bit, but the new normal, next normal is here to stay. So with that in mind, uncertainty is a constant. So how does one continue to stay out in front of my employees' uncertainties and also the clients? Where are the client pain points? Where do they most need help? How can we really help our clients do more for their employee base, do more for their C-suite? So it's multi-phased, and it changes. I'm sure at the end of this half hour, things will have changed in some way, shape, or form. So it's certainly, and then there's factoring in work-life balance and demonstrating work-life balance to my people. So as you know, I'm a big climber, so I'll be going up to New Hampshire for 3 or 4 days next week just to decompress and to show my employees that I decompress and I want them to do the same thing. So I think that's a really important message to send as well.
Yeah, it's so great to hear you say that. I've had many folks reporting into me over the years, and I've always stressed to them right up front, when 5 or so o'clock rolls around every day, as long as there's not something on fire, I want to see you going home. I want to see you living your life. We're here all day long. We do the job, we work hard, but there's a time where you're supposed to cut it off. And that story about you going to climb is a great one.
Yeah, and we also give what we call gone fishing time to our people, where they can pick an hour a day. And the vast majority don't go fishing. I don't know what they do. Maybe they sleep or practice yoga or read a book, but we need them to take time off. We need them to take extra PTO, certainly in terms of summer Fridays, looking ahead towards the holidays, anything and everything we can do to make their stress levels a little bit less. It's critical. And we always tell them, raise your hand. Let us know. Don't let us find out, that you're drowning when you've got, your third finger, up in the air and you're about to sink under the waves. Let us know as you're starting to tread water. We need to know early on so we can help.
Yeah, and maybe that's a good segue too into the way you deal with your employees, also the way you deal with your clients. Have you seen in the last couple of years any of these challenges become opportunities, and how have you pivoted over from the challenge to the opportunity?
Yeah, I think the opportunity is that everyone, not by everyone, I mean everyone on the client side, certainly. Peppercomm's always been, very laid back. We have a humor, as you know, we have a humor-based, comedy-based culture. We just trained about 15 of our people in improv last week. So we've always said we take our clients and our business seriously. We don't take ourselves seriously at all. But I can tell you, coming out of the Arthur Page conference a week ago, that one of the number one issues was the power of humor, and the fact that the stress levels are so high that just about everybody needs a way, and everybody from the C-suite on down to the virtual receptionist needs ways to figure out how to decompress. Certainly, connectivity is a big problem, productivity, engagement. Some people are just either too burnt or after almost 2 years of this uncertainty, just can't stay focused on business. So that provides opportunities for us, especially in employee engagement, which has been one of our biggest growth areas, and I think will continue to be, Jody. I mean, the external budgets are growing, but the internal budgets are absolutely growing. So the more we can bring to the plate, and our differentiator obviously is mixing in the science of humor to help executives better message, to help mid-managers understand how to lead by example, and for junior people to understand the power of standing up and speaking out, and helping our clients create a culture where it's okay to fail fast and learn from those failures.
That's a great story to hear. And let's talk about that Laughing Matters podcast. I guess that's an extension of the philosophy that you just outlined, sort of the importance of, well, I guess we'll call it humor, but I think it's a little bit more than that, right? In your approach to how you work with your employees and how they work with the clients.
Yes, the fundamental tenets are, smiling and laughter are natural, and they stimulate the same endorphins in the brain as eating chocolate or falling in love. So laughter is a key differentiator from a business standpoint, whether you want to differentiate yourself from somebody within your agency, differentiate your agency from another one. But it's also critical in terms of storytelling, because as you know, comedy and humor all about the setup and the punchline. So whether you're telling a very serious personal finance story, or you're representing Mini Cooper as we do, and you really want to come out with something fun and unexpected, the tenets of stand-up and improv really can help create storytelling that can break through in an overly cluttered world. So there's also a method to the madness of humor, in terms of taking storytelling in every sense of that word to a whole different plane, and hopefully enabling our clients to break through in smarter, more impactful ways.
Yeah, I've got to imagine that also lends to overall creativity, right? I mean, we work in a creative business. We are charged with, one of the things that we have to do is come up with creative ideas. A lot of days it's, fitting the right peg in the right shaped hole kind of thing, where the news goes, or what reporter we're going to call and who's going to cover it. But the core of that is creativity, and I think that lends it to it, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. And it's much more than, you think about, some of the creative brainstorm, ideas like, tossing around a basketball, or having these game rooms and things like that to open up people's minds. We play improv games, in which, we'll start with a word, and 15 of us will try to create a story using that one word. Or we'll come up with a concept or a word, like, let's say Jody, or let's say Boston, and 15 of us have to go yes and the last person has to somehow end by using the word Boston or Jody. So it forces us to listen to each other and be a team, and then we'll say, okay, prospect A or client A wants us to do this. So our minds are completely open. We've forgotten about what meeting we just came out of, or what client crisis we just came out of, or what personal dilemma we were just dealing with, and our minds are open. So it's a big, big catalyst for creative brainstorming.
That sounds a lot more fun than trust fall exercise, I gotta say.
Yeah, especially if somebody doesn't play his part and lets you fall.
But that also winds its way around to client, employee relations and mentoring young talent. And I've got to imagine that when you've got young talent in a room like that, where you're doing that exercise, they get engaged a lot more than we poked fun at the trust fall, right? That's got to engage them more too. That's got to make them more excited about working at Peppercomm.
Well, I don't know about the more excited part, but I participate. So, and I routinely fail. My personal and professional motto is expect less. So I think when they see me bomb, whether it's on stage or via Zoom, it definitely humanizes me, and it makes them feel like they're in a safe place. Everybody talks about, okay, we're in a safe place. When we talk about, when they go through the training with me, which they all do, and they see me be just as open and just as fallible as they are, it emboldens a 22 or a 23-year-old to say, you know what, Steve, on this account, I think we should be doing A, when, maybe 5, 10, 15 years ago, that never would have happened. So it is a great leveler. And I think it's especially powerful on the corporate side. If you can get a senior executive who buys into authenticity and vulnerability and empathy, show that human side, it will dramatically impact the productivity and the cohesiveness of that management team.
And getting that younger perspective has got to be more important than ever these days too. I mean, it's one thing to approach the New York Times with a story angle that's got to resonate with the New York Times audience. It's another thing to try to bust into these younger demographics, these younger outlets where that audience still is, and that takes the insight of that 22-year-old, does it not?
It absolutely does. And they want, as you know, they want to work at purpose-driven organizations. They want to feel that the client work they're doing, the client is doing something to make the world somehow a better place. And the media or the influencers, they also focus on those companies and those individuals that are doing something a little bit different, a little bit special. So the comedy and the humor has really enabled us to attract some amazing talent, at the Gen Z level. And certainly the millennials have been with us for a while, but the Gen Zs in particular adore the comedy and the humor, and just using that to brainstorm new ways in which to pitch. Again, a New York Times story, yes, it has to be very serious. It has to be problem solution. It has to be told with 2 words, a first name and a last name, but you can be a lot more creative. And the Gen Zs really take to the creative juices that the comedy and the humor instill.
That's what a wonderful approach, a wonderful philosophy. I just love it. I'm going to steal it a little bit if I can,
Please,
Steve.
please. Everything is out there to be stolen.
Let's talk to a little bit about, because we get questions here on the show and in the social media a little bit about young people trying to break into PR, whether it's what courses should I take in college, or it's how do I get my first job, or is it, how do I get started? Do you have any insight as to how young people come into your organization? Sort of what catches your attention about a young person's resume or a young person's presentation?
Yeah, well, there are a couple of things. I mean, you obviously they're all 3.9 or 4.0. I don't know how that happens, but I certainly wasn't. So you take the academic part for granted, and then you really look, obviously, at extracurricular, but more importantly, what have they done? In terms of whether creating their own blog, whether becoming an influencer, which some of them have, whether creating an idea for a new product, which some of them have done. And also what I look for as well is somebody who understands and has taken a course in basic economics or finance. Because one of the big problems that our clients talk about is your team's great, but they really don't understand the business of our business. They don't understand why, our quarterly earnings are so critical if they go up by a penny or a dime or not. So I look for that. And I also look for some sort of background, whether it's a minor or a couple of courses in history. Because I cannot tell you how many of the Gen Zs, and this is not to slight any of them, but a lot of them don't know a whole lot about what happened before the year 2000. And that can be really dangerous when you're in with clients who are 45, 50, 60, and will mention something, something really important that occurred in 1990, mid 90s, or name drop, and your Gen Z is just blank. So I look for that combination of somebody who's got a little bit of depth and knowledge in terms of what went before, someone who has a basic grasp of finance so that they understand the business of a business, and then what have they done during their college years above and beyond just attending class.
You're telling me that my history minor actually wasn't a waste of time. Is that
not
what
at
you're saying?
all. Not at all, Jody. Not at all.
Well, this has been a really great conversation, and I really appreciate you passing all this along. Do you have maybe a parting philosophy about public relations, kind of where we are, where we're going, maybe what the short-term or long-term future of our industry is here?
Yeah, I don't think it's ever been brighter. I think, advertising is booming again, which is great to see, but reputations, as you know, are now, there's so many minefields that we don't even know exist, that corporate reputations are at greater risk now than ever before, which means there are more opportunities for both internal corporate communications people and external agency people to help anticipate and or respond and or mitigate a crisis as quickly as possible. So I think we are absolutely at the tip of the spear when it comes to guiding a corporate reputation in ways that we never have before. Ditto with strategy and creativity. With a lot of the agencies we partner with, which are advertising, digital, et cetera, we're the ones that come up with the strategy. And I'm seeing that more and more. And I talk to the large agency owners, et cetera. We are definitely, I think, in a golden age of PR that's going to continue for at least another, well, I can't say how long it will last, but it's never been a better time to be in PR, Jody.
Could not agree with you more, and co-sign everything you just said there, Steve. Absolutely. Well, now we are going to segue into the rapid fire question portion of our podcast, where we have a little fun. Not like we haven't been having fun here, Steve, but this is where
it's been a blast to help fix up your garage there.
Yeah, we should actually post a picture of what's actually going on behind me here. It would help people understand all the racket. But this is the rapid fire question portion of the podcast, where we steal a page from inside the actor studio. We ask our guests a series of rapid fire questions. Yep. Simple 1 or 2 word answers, yep, meant to elicit a laugh and a smile, which I know you know nothing about, Steve.
Nothing.
So let's begin. Rapid fire question number 1. Your favorite news source?
Skim.
Good one. Rapid fire question number 2, your favorite social media platform?
Oh, LinkedIn by far.
Oh, okay. Let's just diverge a little bit. What do you love about LinkedIn?
It's of, by, and for business. So there's no fluff. There's no vitriol. It's fact. It's just the facts, man.
Love it. Love it. I did see some vitriol this morning on a post of a friend of mine, which
No,
surprised me.
it was probably from me, Jody.
Rapid fire question number 3, coffee or alcohol?
Both.
Excellent. Excellent. Rapid fire question number 4, your favorite on the run food?
Banana.
That's a good one. Favorite of mine as well. Rapid fire question number 5, what do you want to be after you finish this career?
Continuing to consult to the business, do more and more climbing around the world, and more stand-up and improv performing of comedy and humor.
Definitely going to come to your next improv show, without a doubt, Steve.
Okay.
Well, this has been a great conversation, and we appreciate you spending some time with us. Please let people know how they can find you and Peppercomm online.
You're better off not finding me. You can find Peppercomm at www.peppercomm.com. And somewhere in there, you'll find me.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again, Steve. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Please remember to subscribe to the show, connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The PR Podcast, and send us a question or a comment. Our intro is by Christopher Apple. You can find him and his fantastic photography on Instagram at Christopher_APPOLDT. Check him out there and hire him for all your photography needs. You can find me online at Jody Fisher on all the socials and online at jodyfisherpr.com. We'll see you next time on The PR Podcast.